Welcome to the Page Master YouTube channel. Join us today as we escape into the world of Jenna and the story of the blue checkmark of Betrayal. The notification sound from Jenna's laptop was worse than alarm clocks at 6 a.m., worse than the screech of chalk against blackboard, worse than the feedback from the coffee shop's ancient sound system during open mic nights. The blue light from her screen cast shadows across the cramped space she shared with her roommate, making everything look like it was underwater. Empty energy drink cans and highlighter-stained note cards littered her desk, evidence of the all-nighter she'd pulled trying to memorize reaction mechanisms and molecular structures. Her phone showed 3 missed calls from her mom and a text asking if she was okay. But Jenna had been too buried in studying to respond to anything, except the most urgent messages. She clicked on Facebook without thinking, muscle memory guiding her fingers while her brain was still half asleep. The familiar blue and white interface loaded, and there at the top of her feed was the update that would change everything. Worse than failing an exam, worse than losing a scholarship, worse than any academic disaster she had spent the last 4 years trying to avoid. Ryan Mitchell is engaged to Ashley Summers. The words hung on her screen like a death sentence, complete with a cheerful little ring emoji and 43 likes already accumulating beneath it. Jenna stared at the post until her eyes watered, until the letters began to blur together into meaningless shapes. Ryan Mitchell, her Ryan, the boy she had been dating for 8 months, the one who had kissed her goodbye just last weekend, when she'd driven back to campus after spending spring break at his apartment. Her hands trembled as she scrolled down to see more details, her heart performing gymnastics that had nothing to do with caffeine withdrawal and everything to do with a complete upending of her reality. There were photos, Ryan and a blonde girl she didn't recognize, both of them grinning at the camera with the kind of manic happiness that people displayed when they were trying too hard to prove something. The girl was wearing a diamond ring that caught the light like a tiny star, and Ryan's arm was wrapped around her waist with possessive certainty. The comments were flooding in faster than Jenna could read them. Congratulations, and about time, and so happy for you both. She recognized some of the names, Ryan's high school friends, his coworkers from the construction company where he'd been working since graduation. People who had never heard of Jenna Chun, apparently. People who thought this Ashley person was the love of Ryan's life. She grabbed her phone with shaking fingers and called his number, her thumb moving on autopilot while her brain struggled to process what she had seen. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times, and then Ryan's familiar voice came through the speaker, not Liv, but his voicemail message, the same one he'd had for months. Hey, you've reached Ryan. I'm probably working or hanging out with my girl. Leave a message and I'll get back to you. My girl. Jenna had always assumed he meant her when he said that. Now she wondered how long Ashley Summers had been his girl, while Jenna was just the college student he saw on weekends, a side distraction from his real life. She hung up without leaving a message and immediately called back, as if somehow the second attempt would connect her to a different reality where the Facebook post didn't exist. This time the call went straight to voicemail, which meant he had seen her name on his screen and chosen to decline it. She clicked on Ashley Summers' profile, her cursor hovering over the name like she was about to touch something that might burn her. The profile was public, filled with photos of a life that looked nothing like Jenna's, country music concerts and lake parties, posed shots at bars with groups of blonde girls who all looked like they'd stepped out of a magazine. Ashley worked at a local bank, had graduated from high school the same year as Ryan, lived in the same small Ohio town where Jenna visited him on weekends. As she scrolled through Ashley's timeline, Jenna began to see the evidence she had been too naive to look for before. Photos from months ago, Ashley and Ryan at a 4th of July barbecue, at a Halloween party where she was dressed as a nurse and he was dressed as a doctor. Christmas photos with both of them wearing matching ugly sweaters, surrounded by people who look like family members. A Valentine's Day post from Ashley that said best boyfriend ever with a picture of roses and chocolate. February 14th. Jenna remembered that day clearly because Ryan had told her he was working late and couldn't talk. Had sent her a generic text that said Happy V-Day, babe, without any of the thoughtfulness she had expected from someone who claimed to love her. She had spent the evening alone in her dorm room, telling herself that Ryan wasn't the romantic type, that he showed his love in other ways. The photos went back even further. She discovered as she continued scrolling with the obsessive determination of someone who needed to know exactly how badly she had been betrayed. 6 months ago, 7 months ago, 8 months ago, right around the time Ryan had first asked Jenna out when she'd been home for winter break. Ashley and Ryan at a New Year's Eve party, kissing at midnight while Jenna had been 3 states away, celebrating with her college friends and texting him about how much she missed him. I'm such an idiot, Jenna said aloud, her voice cracking with the weight of her realization. I'm such a complete idiot. She had thought she was Ryan's girlfriend, but apparently she had been his college experiment, his weekend entertainment, his way of feeling sophisticated by dating someone who was going to be a doctor. Ashley was his real life, the girl he brought to family gatherings and work parties, the one who knew his friends and shared his world in ways that Jenna, with her academic ambitions and her different background, never could. But then, as the shock began to wear off and anger took its place, Jenna remembered something that made her pulse quicken with a different kind of energy. She had photos too, lots of them. 8 months worth of pictures with Ryan, pictures that told a very different story than the one Ashley Summers thought she knew. Her fingers moved with sudden purpose as she scrolled through her own photo albums, looking for the perfect one. There, a selfie from just 2 weeks ago, taken in Ryan's apartment. They were both laughing at something off camera, and Ryan's arm was around her shoulders in a way that screamed intimacy and familiarity. But the most important thing about the photo wasn't what it showed. It was when it was taken. The timestamp read March 15th, 2:30 p.m., 2 weeks after Ashley's Valentine's Day post about her best boyfriend ever. Jenna's heart hammered as she uploaded the photo to Facebook, her fingers trembling with a mixture of rage and determination. She tagged both Ryan and Ashley in the post, adding a caption that was a masterpiece of innocent-sounding devastation. Missing my baby. Can't wait to see you again next weekend. The post went live at 4:23 m.m., and Jenna stared at it for a long moment, feeling something she hadn't expected: power. Her phone rang within minutes. Ryan's name flashed on the screen, and this time he wasn't going to voicemail. What the hell did you just do? His voice was sharp with panic, all traces of his usual casual charm stripped away. I posted a picture of us, Jenna said, surprised by how calm she sounded. Is that a problem? Delete it. Delete it right now. Why would I delete a picture of me and my boyfriend? Jenna, you don't understand. This is going to cause problems. Ashley what? Your fiancé? The word came out dripping with venom. The girl you proposed to while you were still sleeping with me? There was silence on the other end of the line, and Jenna could practically hear Ryan's brain scrambling for a way out of this. When he spoke again, his voice had shifted to the pleading tone he used when he wanted something from her. Baby, listen to me. It's not what you think. Ashley and we've been having problems. The engagement isn't real. It's just something we did for show, for her family. You're the one I really want to be with. Jenna laughed, a harsh sound that surprised even her. Right, that's why you've been bringing her to family parties for months while telling me you were working late. Look, none of that matters. What matters is us. Delete the post and we can talk about this. I'll explain everything. No, the word hung in the air like a challenge. Jenna had never said no to Ryan before, not about anything that mattered. She had always been accommodating, understanding, willing to work around his schedule and his moods and his excuses. What do you mean no? I mean no, I'm not deleting it. I mean no, I don't want to hear your explanations. I mean no, there is no us anymore. Ryan's voice turned threatening. Jenna, if you don't delete that post right now, I'm going to report your account. I'll tell Facebook you're harassing me and Ashley. They'll ban you. Go ahead, she said, feeling reckless and free in a way she hadn't in months. But the post is already up. People have already seen it. Ashley's probably looking at it right now. She could hear Ryan breathing heavily on the other end of the line. Please, he said finally, and his voice cracked on the word. Please, Jenna. You don't know what you're doing. This is going to ruin everything. Good, she said, and hung up. The phone rang again immediately, but Jenna turned it face down and watched her laptop screen instead. The post was already getting likes and comments, confused ones, mostly, from people who didn't understand what they were seeing. But Ashley's friends were starting to figure it out. Jenna could see comments appearing and disappearing as people posted and then thought better of it. Then Ashley herself commented, "Who is this?" And just like that, the dam broke. Ryan called 7 more times in the next hour, alternating between threats and pleas. He told her he was reporting her to Facebook, that he was going to call campus security, that she was crazy and obsessed and pathetic. Then he'd call back and tell her he loved her, that he was sorry, that if she would just delete the post, they could work things out. Jenna listened to the first few calls, then started letting them go to voicemail. By dawn, the comments on her post had exploded into a full-scale social media war. Ashley's friends were defending her, Ryan's friends were confused, and Jenna's college friends were waking up to the drama and demanding explanations. But the most interesting development was the direct messages Jenna started receiving from girls she'd never heard of. Is this the Ryan Mitchell who works at Morrison Construction? Girl, thank you for posting this. I've been wondering who the other girl was. Do you know about the redhead from Columbus? Because I have pictures. It turned out that Jenna and Ashley weren't Ryan's only victims. There was Madison, who'd been seeing him for 3 months and thought she was his girlfriend. There was Stephanie, who lived an hour away and had been driving to visit him every other weekend. There was Becca, who worked at the same company and had been hooking up with him during lunch breaks. The evidence started pouring in faster than Jenna could process it. Under the mounting pressure and faced with undeniable evidence, Jenna finally deleted her post that afternoon. But it was too late. The conversation had already moved to other platforms, to private messages and group chats. The screenshots had been shared and reshared. The story was out there, living its own life beyond Jenna's control. Within hours, Ryan's Facebook timeline was flooded with posts from his other victims. Photos of him with different girls, screenshots of his lies, even a few intimate pictures that were probably illegal to share, but that Ashley saw before they were taken down. The blonde girl who had looked so happy in her engagement photos was now posting angry status updates about lying cheaters and fake people before she finally deleted her entire Facebook account and disappeared from social media entirely. By the evening, word had spread through their small hometown like wildfire. Ryan's coworkers were commenting on the drama, his family members were posting confused messages, and even his high school friends were distancing themselves from the chaos. The man who had juggled multiple women for months was suddenly the most notorious person in 3 counties, and not in the way he had probably imagined. Jenna's phone had been ringing all day, but the calls weren't just from Ryan anymore. Local friends were calling to check on her, college friends were calling for gossip, and even her mother had called after hearing about the situation through the hometown grapevine. But the call that surprised her most came just after midnight, when she was finally settling down to get some sleep before her chemistry exam. Jenna? Ryan's voice was different now, smaller, defeated, stripped of all the arrogant charm that had attracted her in the first place. "Can we talk?" "I don't think we have anything to talk about," she said, but she didn't hang up immediately. There was something in his voice that made her curious about what he could possibly say now. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you and Ashley and everyone. But what we had was real, Jenna. You have to know that. What we had was a lie," she said simply. "You were lying to me for 8 months. You were lying to Ashley and Madison and all the others. You were lying to everyone, including yourself. I can change," he said desperately. "I can be better. We can start over, just you and me. No more games, no more other girls. I promise." Jenna looked around her dorm room at the chemistry notes that had seemed so important just 24 hours ago, at the acceptance letter to her summer research program pinned to her bulletin board, at the photos of her college friends and her family and all the people who actually cared about her future. Then she thought about Ryan's apartment with its bare walls and empty beer bottles, about the way he had made fun of her fancy college words and rolled his eyes when she talked about medical school. "No," she said, and this time the word came easily. "I'm not interested in starting over with you, Ryan. I'm interested in starting over without you. Jenna, please. I have to go," she said. "I have an exam in the morning. A really important one." She hung up and turned off her phone, then opened her chemistry textbook one more time. The next morning, she walked into her organic chemistry exam with clear eyes and a steady hand. She knew every reaction mechanism, every molecular structure, every concept that would be tested. She filled in each answer with confidence, thinking not about the boy who had tried to make her feel small, but about the woman she was becoming, someone who refused to accept less than she deserved, someone who fought back when the world tried to knock her down. When she finished the exam and walked out into the spring sunshine, her phone buzzed with a text from her study group. "How did it go?" "Perfect," she typed back. "Absolutely perfect." And as she walked across campus toward her next class, Jenna realized that for the first time in her life, she truly meant it. Everything was perfect, not because her life was easy or simple, but because it was entirely her own. If you are loving contents like this, subscribe.